Math 70 Part 2 exam review. Problem 25. Problem 26 we're going to start with. 26 is asking you to FOIL. So you have x minus 4 binomial times x plus 12. You're going to FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 12 is 12x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x, and negative 4 times positive 12 is negative 48. Now, these two middle terms add up to be 8x, and then minus 48. So the correct answer for 26 is A. Number 27 is also factoring. We have 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x plus 4x, and then minus 10. So right away, you know that the 10 is negative. You could cross out these two answers right here. Same with this right here. So it's between A and B. And the correct answer is negative 15 plus 4 is negative 11x. So A is the correct answer. Okay. We are on question 28. 28 is a binomial that's being squared. So it basically is x minus 9 times x minus 9. Do not, the common mistake students make is they want to square distribute this too. That is not correct. And they will put that answer as one of your options, as you'll see. C is that wrong answer. And a lot of students will want to do that. So that is not the correct answer, nor is x plus 81. So what you have to do is FOIL this, x squared. We have negative 9x with another negative 9x, and then a positive 81, because negative 9 times negative 9 is positive 81. So when you add these two middle terms, you get negative 18x. So the correct answer is B. 29 is asking you to multiply a binomial to a trinomial. So what we have to do is we have to distribute x times x cubed is x to the 4th. X times 7x is 7x squared. And then minus 3x. And then we will do the 8 times x cubed is 8x cubed. 8 times 7x is 56x. And 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Okay, so right away I know that A is not an answer because it's minus 24, that's our constant. And I know D is not correct, and nor is E. So it's between B and C. So what I want to do is add the like terms. So it's x to the 4th going with the highest power, x to the 4th, then plus 8x cubed. And right away I see the answer, it's right there. So we have 7x squared, we can continue. And then 56x minus 3x is 53x, and then minus 24, just to verify that C is the correct answer. Number 30 is division. We have a monomial. We are dividing it by all three of these terms. So it's this 8x squared is going into each one of these. So we have 32x to the 9th over 8x squared. Okay? Then minus 27x to the 7th over 8x squared. And then minus 40x squared over 8x to the 2nd. So this 8x to the 2nd is being divided into all three of these. So 8 goes into 32 4 times, and since these are the same, we're going to subtract the exponents, it's x to the 7th. So I already know it's between B and D, one of those two. Now, how do I know which one it is? Well, it's gonna be a subtraction here, and this is supposed to be a 24. 8 goes into 24 3 times, and then we're gonna subtract these two, 3x to the fifth. So I already know what the answer is, and that is obviously -5. So B is the correct answer for 30. 31, unfortunately, you're going to have to use long division. 3x minus 5 is the divisor. And looking at my answers, I can tell you that we could probably eliminate some answers pretty quickly when we do the first term. So you may not have to do the whole problem, but we will. Okay, so if you recall, when we do division, our job is to figure out 3x times what is going to give us a -6x cubed. We want a -6. So 3 times -2x, and we're going to write squared because we want to multiply these two to get x cubed. We want an exact -6x cubed. So -2x squared times 3x is -6x cubed. And then a -2x squared times -5 is a +10x squared. So now what we have to do is subtract these. So these will cancel, and this -10, this is going to be a -10, so we have -15x squared. Bring down the 10x. Now I want to know 3x times what is -15x squared. So it's going to be a -5x. -5x times 3x is -15x squared. And then -5x times -5 is 25x. Again, you are going to subtract these. The -15x squareds will be eliminated. 10x minus 25x is -15x. And the last thing we're going to bring down, we probably already see the answer, and it is going to be D. I can predict that. But let's continue on. Bring down your 25, and 3x times what is -15x, and that would be -5. And when you multiply this, you end up getting -15x plus 25, and when you subtract, these zero out. So that was the correct answer, D. Now, 32 is the same concept, but what they did here is they did not put this dividend, this is the divisor, this is the dividend. We have to organize it. So it's 8x to the third power plus 4x squared. There is no x, and then there's a 7. We want to organize it, it just helps. So it looks like there could be some remainder. If not, then it'd be C or D. So let's check this out. 2x times what is 8x to the third power? So we need a 4, and we need x squared. Okay, so obviously 4x squared. So 4x squared times 2x is 8x cubed. 4x squared times 3 is 12x squared. So when we subtract, we end up with 4x squared minus 12x squared is -8x squared. Now, we have the 0x, but let's see if we're going to bring that down. That's actually nothing. We may end up bringing that. Let's just bring 0x down. See what happens. So we want to get 2x times what is -8x squared. So that would be -4x. So -4x times 2x is -8x squared. And -4x times 3 is -12x. So when we subtract these, this 12x, -12x becomes a +12x. And then we're going to bring down the 7. Okay? Now, 2x times what is 12x? And that would be 6. So 6 times 2x is 12x plus 18. And when we subtract these, I end up getting a negative, should have negative, negative 18 plus 7 is negative 11. So let's see, 4x squared minus 4x plus 6, but we have a remainder of negative 11. The answer to 32 is A. They have negative 9 for an answer. I don't believe, let's see if we did something wrong. Looks like there might be an error. This should be a negative 11. Okay. Negative 11 instead of negative 9. Number 33. Factor the greatest common factor out of this trinomial. So what's common? I see a 2 that's common in an m squared. So 2m squared, and that would be d. D is your GCF. Now let's make sure it's correct. 2 goes into 8 4 times with 5 m's. Looks like we're on the right track. And then 3 times m squared, and then minus 2. So it is correct. 34 says factor the polynomial, and if you can't, we say it's prime. But obviously, they gave us answers. Now, if you get stuck, what you could do is FOIL each one of these, but that would take forever. We don't want to have to do that. But if we have to, if we get stuck, we get stuck. Now, with 4 terms, what you're going to do, we discussed this in class, you're going to factor by grouping. You're going to take these 2, and your common factor would be a 3x. If you take a 3x out of these 2, you have 2x plus 5. Then here, you're going to take out a negative 5, because that's what's common. The GCF of these 2 is negative 5. So we have 2x and then plus 5, because negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Now you should see these 2 are common, which is 2x plus 5. So we're going to yank those 2 out, and then you have 3x minus 5. The correct answer would be A, even though they are switched around. We have the commutative property that says we can switch them around. 35 also would be done with grouping. I would, for 35, I would pull out in these first 2 terms, I would pull an x out, and then you're left with y squared plus 5. And then for this one, I would pull out a negative 1, and you're left with y squared plus 5. So we have y squared plus 5, common to both, and then we have parenthesis x minus 1, which is A also. 36. This is a polynomial with a degree of 2, and the leading coefficient's 1. So this one you're going to ask yourself, what times what is x squared? It's easy, x times x. And then what 2 numbers multiply to give you a positive 27, but add to be negative 12? And that would be negative 9 and negative 3. These 2 multiply to give you a positive 27, but they add to be negative 12. So the correct answer would be C. 37, I would check to always, when you're factoring these polynomials, always see, well, look at your answers. And this is going to give you a hint. I see a 4 sitting out. So ask yourself, could I pull a 4 out of this whole thing? Yes, you can. 4 goes into all of these, like that. And then, so I know that works, so obviously either A or C is probably going to be the answer. So now I'm going to look at this piece right here, and this factors to be x minus 5 times x minus 5. Now this answer could have been written as 4 times x minus 5 quantity squared. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25, but it adds to be negative 10. So the correct answer is A. Okay? Number 38. Now for this one, you're gonna have to FOIL it, but right away, if you can't figure out what it is for this one, you could FOIL these out and see which ones work, because this is the one where you have to guess and check. So for this one, right away, I look at the first two terms and they do all match to be 12z squared. Now the last two, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, negative 12, negative 12, but this one right away, that does not work. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Now, if I had to do my whole factoring, really all I have to do, I'm not going to FOIL this one. The first and the last one we know were correct. So what I want to do is the outer and the inners. I want to see which two outers and inners multiply and add to be 7. So I already know 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. That's too big. That's not going to work. But what about this? Negative 9 and positive 16. That's not going to work. How about C? 9 and negative 16. Does that work? 9. I'm sorry, go back to 38. 38B was correct. Now that I'm thinking about it, this is negative 9 and then positive 16, and that does add to be 7. So it was B. That's going to give you the wrong sign. So B is the correct answer. 39 is a simple one. This is called the difference of two perfect squares. So 25x squared is a perfect square, and so is 81. So this one's an easy one. It factors to be 5x minus 9 times 5x plus 9, which is B. Okay? This next one is it's the difference of two perfect cubes. And this is how this one can be either a subtraction or an addition. So what I do on this one is this is two perfect cubes. How do I know that they're two perfect cubes? Because 3 of the same number that multiply to give me x cubed, and these three numbers multiply to give you 27. So this one ends up being a binomial and a trinomial. So hopefully if you remember that, it's going to be, you should already say it's got to be B or C, not these, based on what we did in class. So what you're going to have is a binomial. You take one of each of these and this sign. Hopefully this is coming back to you guys. So x minus, so if this were a plus sign, that would be a plus sign. Then you take these two, x squared, multiply these two and switch the sign, so you should already see where the answer is right there. And then this is always a plus sign, and you multiply these two together. And if you wanted to, you could factor this completely and see that that works. Okay? Same with this one. This is another example of, it's the difference, and it could be a sum of two perfect cubes. Why are these two perfect cubes? Well, let's see. Can you break them up into 3 of the same number that are multiplied? Yep, 3x times 3x times 3x, and 4y squared times 4y squared times 4y squared is 64y to the 6th power. So this is the difference, or it could be a sum too. If you had a plus sign, it would work too. So what you're going to have here, you're going to pull one of each of these into the binomial. So a 3x and a 4y squared with whatever that sign is. Then these two get multiplied together. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Switch the sign, multiply these two together. So 12xy squared. And then the last is going to be a plus sign, and you multiply 2 together, so 16y to the 4. So this is asking you, which of the following is a factor of the expression? Well, I don't see 3x minus 4y squared, because that's a plus sign, so that one doesn't work. That's not a factor, that's not a factor, so A, B, and C are not factors. It looks like it's going to be D, or E. E is this factor right here. (42) is a quadratic that is set equal to 0. We're going to factor this and solve it. So you're going to ask yourself, what times what is x squared, x times x? What times what is negative 55, but adds to be 6? So that would be positive 11 and negative 5. And so what you're going to do is set each of these equal to 0. X plus 11 equals 0, so x is negative 11, and x minus 5 equals 0, add 5, and the correct answer would be C. 43 is already factored for you, and it's set. We have this 0 property that says if we have a product set equal to 0, so x has, for each variable, you're going to set it equal to 0, so x equals 0, or x plus 18 is equal to 0. So subtract 18. So your two possible answers are 0 and negative 18. So B is the correct answer. Okay, for 44, you are asked to simplify this problem. So what I would like to do is factor the numerator. How do you factor that numerator? Well, what times what is 2x squared? 2x times x. Then we have to figure out what times what is 3. Well, if I put a 3 here and a 1 here, when I OI it, because I already F and L is fine, but 6 and 1 is 7, so that works nicely. X squared minus 9 is the difference of two perfect squares, so that's easy one to factor. These two cancel, so your answer is 2x plus 1 over x minus 3. A is the correct answer for 44. Okay, for 45, we are multiplying. So what you're going to want to do is factor all of these terms. So for the first, the numerator, we have a 5 that can come out. And we can't do anything with this numerator here, so we're just going to write 5p squared. But this denominator, we can take an 8 out, and we're left with p minus 1. So the p minus 1 sets cross out. This p cancels with a p here. So our final answer, nothing else can cancel. So it looks like 5 times 5 is 25p over 8. And the correct answer would be C. (46). This is a division problem, so we keep the first the same. We've got y minus 5 quantity squared over 9. We're going to flip this one, 81, over. Now, at the same time, I'm going to pull a 9 out, and you have y minus 5. So, what's going to cancel? Well, 9 times 9 is 81, so these are all gone. And we have 2 y minus 5s here with 1 y minus 5. So one of these is going to cancel with one of these. Your final answer would be y minus 5 over 1. So A. For 47, we have another division problem. So we have 12x squared y cubed over 5. And we're going to flip, put the x on top, and then 3y cubed at the bottom. This gets flipped. So I like the fact that this y cubed are the same, they're gone. And 3 goes into 3 goes into 12 4 times. So I know it's 4/5. I don't have but 1 4/5, and it is x cubed, because I have 2 x's here and 1 x here. So A would be the correct answer. Okay? For 48, we are subtracting. Now this is tricky. The denominators are the same, so that's nice, but we have to distribute this negative. We are subtracting 5a and we're subtracting negative 6b. So 5a minus 5a, the 5a's cancel. So what we have is 6b minus a negative 6b. So 6b plus 6b is 12b, and it's all over 2. So 12b over 2. 2 goes into 12 6 times, so the answer is 6b, which is B. We are adding two fractions, but their denominators are totally different. So what we have to do is find a common denominator. In the common denominator, I'm going to rewrite this problem here. The common denominator is x times x minus 9. So what we have to do is we have to multiply this 4 by x minus 9. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And the second fraction is you have to multiply both top and the bottom by x. So we're going to distribute this. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 9 is negative 36. And then plus 8x over x times x minus 9. And now these two add up to be 12x over x times x minus 9. Now, I might want to see if I can pull, I'm going to pull a 12 out of this, but I do see the answer already, which is C. But sometimes be careful, even if I do pull a 12 out, there's not going to be anything to factor, to cancel. Let's pull it out and show you. 12, if we pull a 12 out, we have x minus 12 times 3 is 36. So if this were a 9, okay, let's say I had just pulled out a 4, and these ended up being x minus 9s, then you could cancel those out. Okay, but there's nothing else you can do with this problem. That is the correct answer. Number 50, this is a complex fraction, and what we have to do is get these two together. So we have to make this 4x over x. We have to get a common denominator there, plus 2 over x. Which, if we just move this way, we have 4x plus 2 over x. That's the numerator. Now the bottom, we have to get a common denominator here, which is 8. I'm going to multiply both of these by 2. So we have 2x over 8 plus 1 over 8. And if we combine them, we get 2x plus 1 over 8. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, because it's a division problem, we're going to keep that one the same. We're going to flip this, so this becomes 8 over 2x plus 1. Now, looking at our answers, I don't see anything, so which tells me that I could probably do something more, which is pull a 2 out of this. So if I pull a 2 out, I get 2x plus 1, and now I start seeing some things happening here. Which is what? The 2x plus 1's cancel. And now that's all we can cancel. We can go ahead and multiply across. 2 times 8 is 16 over x, which is C. C is the correct answer. Okay. This one is solving an equation. We're solving for x. It's an equation. We are going to first get rid of the 2 and the 3, so the common denominator is 6. So we have to multiply each of these terms by 6. Okay, 3 goes into 6 2 times, so 2 times 2x is 4x, plus 54 equals 2 goes into 6 3 times, 3 times 1 is 3. So now this 54 gets subtracted. 4x equals negative 51, and then divide by 4. The answer should be A, negative 51 over 4. Okay, 52, we have two fractions set equal to each other. They're two fractions in proportion, so we're gonna cross multiply. So 2 times 5t minus 12 equals t times t, which is t squared. 2 times 5t is 10t minus 24. Now, this is a quadratic, so what we have to do is set it equal to 0. I'm gonna keep everything on this side because this is a positive t squared. I'm gonna swing 10x over. This becomes negative 10x, or 10t I should say, and this becomes a positive 24. Now, all I wanna do is figure out what times what is 24, but adds to be negative 10. And it looks like negative 6 and negative 4 work. So I'm gonna set each of these products equal to 0. So t is gonna be 6, 4, 4. 6 or 4. And I do not see the answer. So, let's see what we did wrong. 2 times 5t minus 12 is 10t minus 24. T times t is t squared. T squared minus 10t plus 24. 6 times 4 is 24. I believe my answer is correct, and they have the wrong answer. So the answer is 6 and 4. 52, 6 and 4. 53, state whether or not this ordered pair is a solution to this equation. This is your x value, this is your y value, 4 is your x, 4 is your y. You're gonna plug 4 in for x, and 4 in for y, and ask yourself, and I can tell you right now, this is not gonna work because when we add two positive numbers, we end up getting, whoops, we get a bigger positive, not a negative. So 12 plus 16 is 28, not negative 4. So I'm gonna say no, that does not satisfy that line. 54. They want you to write in slope-intercept form the equation of a line that it's hitting the y-axis at 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's your y-intercept. So B is that 4. B is 4. Whenever x is 0, that's the B value, and M is negative 2. So if you look at y equals mx plus B, you have y equals negative 2x plus 4. And that would be A. A is the correct answer. 55. You are asked to, you could plot points, so you could make a table of values, or you could do it the way we did in class. This is in slope-intercept form. So we know that our y-intercept is 3, so our graph is going to cross the y-axis at 3. So right away, my answers that I should exclude, A, because that's y-intercept is negative 3, and same with C. So it's one of these two. 3 and 3 are your y-intercepts. Now, we talked about the positive and negative slope. This is your negative slope line because it's going down. We read a graph left to right. So B is the correct answer without doing too much plotting of points. But this one will not work because this is a positive slope. But if you want to make a table and plug some numbers in, you can do that. But B is the correct answer. 56, I show class how to graph with using slope intercepts. Make like a little chart, like tic-tac-toe. And if you plug 0, the intercepts are when x is 0. If I were to plug a 0 in here, you can do this but just by covering your x. Negative 12 times what is 12? That would be negative 1. So that's your y-intercept. 0, negative 1. So right away, D and A are not correct. And if I plug in a 0, I'm sorry, I did a 0, yep, that's right. So 0 in for y now, if I cover that up, negative 3 times negative 4 So negative 4, 0, and that would be 56. B is the correct answer, yep. So we have, nope, this is not correct. 0, negative 1, and that should be negative 4. So we have another error. Negative 4, 0, and 0, negative 1, it should be C. C should be the correct answer. They have on the answer sheet B, which is not correct. So, C. C is the correct answer. The answer sheet is wrong. Number 57, we have a system of equations, and we are trying to decide whether or not this ordered pair satisfies the system. So what you have to do is plug negative 1 and negative 3 into both of these. And if it works for both, then this ordered pair is satisfies the system. So let's do the first one. And if the first one doesn't work, you don't have to do the second one. But negative 1, does negative 1 plus negative 3, does that equal negative 2? No. Negative 4 does not equal negative 2. So right away, my answer is no for 57. But let's finish it just to show you that it would have to work for both. So negative 1 minus negative 3, does that equal 4? And that also is no, because that's 2. 2 does not equal 4. So for sure no. 58, in class I showed you this equation says y is 5. So if you made a table, this is saying no matter what, the y value is 5. 5, 5, 5 for a y. So you could plug whatever number you want for x, and if you were to plot these points, you would see that it's a horizontal line at 5. For 59, how do you find the slope of a line that passes through 2 points? The easiest foolproof way, because it's the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's, is to do the little slide. We have the difference of the y's would be 3 minus 7, 3 minus 7. Just slide these right down, and negative 2 minus 6. So hopefully you're okay with the math here. 3 minus 7 is negative 4 over negative 8. The negatives will cancel, and you have 1/2. Be careful, it's bottom heavy. It's not 2. A lot of people will say 2, but it's 1/2. D is the correct answer. Number 60, how do you know if 2 lines are parallel or perpendicular? Well, we have to look at their slopes. For the first line, 2 is the slope. So, but for the second line, we have to get it in slope-intercept form. And if we look at this carefully, our slope is negative 2. So if one slope is 2 and the other one is negative 2, these are not the same, and they are not opposite reciprocals. So these are neither, they're not parallel or perpendicular. They're neither. If the product of them equals negative 1, they're perpendicular. Okay? If you have 2 parallel lines, they are not going to cross. That means there is no solution. So they're inconsistent systems, there's no solution. So B is the correct answer for that one. Okay? Now, for 62, it says solve using substitution. Since this is a multiple choice test, you really don't have to do substitution if that's not your strongest. But to do substitution, you would solve this one for y, get y by itself, so y would be negative 2x plus 30, and then this would get substituted in for y here. So 5x plus 3 times negative 2x plus 30 equals 80. So now we're going to distribute. 3 times 30 is 90. Okay, this is negative 1x. Subtract 90, you get negative 10, so x is 10. So if x is 10, I already know that's not a correct answer, that's not a correct answer, and neither is e. So when x is 10, the easiest place to put that, replace that would be right here. So negative 2 times 10 is negative 20, and negative 20 plus 30 is 10. So the answer is A, 10, 10. Okay? For number 63, to solve by using elimination, the addition and subtraction method, what I would do, since they're lined up nicely, I would multiply this top equation by 2. You multiply this by 2, you get 6x plus 2y equals negative 22. The whole thing has to be multiplied by 2. And then 6x minus 2y equals negative 2. And when I add, write down these two y's cancel. And I end up with negative 24. Divide by 12. And you get x is equal to negative 2. I will continue.